Hey everybody, my name is Brent Gann, PDGA number 102078. I'm the president and founder of Bay County Disc Golf Club here in Bay County, Florida, and a member of the Prodigy Street Team, and this is my 2020 in the bag. First I want to talk about the actual bag I'm carrying. So this is a Huck-to-Thorpe Special Edition Pound Octothorpe. Really just a great bag, holds a ton of discs, putter pouch up top, you got a space for your mini. This is my utility pocket. You've got a strap here for a stool. You can put an umbrella in it. I've got carabiners on it to hold towels and my various bag tags. I can stuff towels down in the sides for those wet rounds. Side pockets here hold keys. It's got a phone pocket. Really just carries everything I need in a really great way. Really love this bag, and I've been carrying it for about a year now, and really happy with how it's held up. And the rainfly on it's great. It holds up really well for tournament play. It also has a water bladder in it for those long rounds when it's hot outside and you need some extra water. You can carry that, and then I usually carry 1 or 2 bottles over here, 32 ounces, and then sometimes I stuff some snacks in there if I'm not carrying a bunch of water. But let's give it to the discs. So my mini is actually a Zing Mini, a really great company. They did these for us for several tournaments that we've done. It's got the Bay County Disc Golf Club logo. Really happy with how these minis turned out. And really just want to give them a shout out because they've always been really good to our club and given us quick turnaround on stuff. As far as putters though, let's go there. My putting putters are 300 PA3s, so we had these discs. I love white putters, so I had these made when we did a putting pub crawl. So we had a bunch of bars and restaurants agree to let us set up baskets. We walked around St. Andrews, and we had these stamped with Keep St. Andrews Salty, which is sort of their mantra. And they turned out really well. I ordered an extra 8 or 10 of them, so I have plenty to practice with. And these have been in my bag for about 6 months. They're just beat in, they're nice, soft, and that 300 plastic gives me a lot of confidence that when it hits the chains, it's gonna stick and not spit out in a way that some of your premium plastic or your harder soft plastics do. And I've been very happy with just the tack and the feel of these 300. Throwing putters, I have a overstable PA1, so this slot I rotate a bit. Right now I have this 300 plastic Catrina Allen PA1. I really like it. I also have a 400 Spectrum Seppo PA1 that I really like. I haven't been throwing that as much recently. I really just like the feel of sticking with the 300 plastic for throwing putters. I do have a P Model S that I throw a lot. It's really great for stall shots, but the PA1, I've just thrown it long enough where I'm just really comfortable with it and want to keep throwing it. And then understable putters, and my favorite throwing putter, are the PA4s. So I have these in 300 soft plastic. They're incredible. You can throw them on a hyzer and let them flip up. You can let them ride an anhyzer. They're great in the woods. They're great for distance throwing putters. I love them. The rim on a PA4, in my opinion, is the best rim on a putter out there. And this 300 soft plastic is really durable and rigid on the edges, soft in the middle, and just has a great tacky feel. So been very happy with the new 300 soft plastic Prodigy has put out. So I carry my approach disc in my utility pocket. So I guess I could call it the approach pocket, but you'll see why a little bit why I don't. So here are all my approach discs, and 4 of these are A2s. So first off, I have these 2 300 A2s. So they're 300 Spectrum 2019 World Stamps. They're just really good. This one's pretty beat, so I throw this pretty much on straight stuff. I can throw a forehand on it, it's gonna hold pretty straight. And then this one's newer, so this one's going to turn a little bit more into that like hard fade, so I can throw it on a little bit more anhyzer and know that it's gonna finish hard. And then this one will get beat in, and I've got another one waiting for its spot. So I try to rotate these pretty well, but this has been in my bag for about 8 months now. It was the brand new disc when I played Music City last year, and just really great disc. It kind of keeps sliding out and back in, but I need an approach disc that I know is going to sit down, and the 300 plastic is soft, so when it dives in toward the basket, it's not going to skip hard, it's going to sit, and you're not going to get a bad roll away. I also bagged this 400 team stamp. So this is an older run A2. I got it from Ryan Van over at Flight Factory Discs, and the belief is that this was one of Uli's old discs, so just really great. I've got a couple of these. I use this one for most of my backhand approach shots that I need an A2 or something real stable for. It's got a bit of a dome, so I don't really like throwing it forehand, but I love throwing it backhand. And if I'm pinched up on the woods on the left-hand side, I need something to come out and back in. This is the disc that I reach for, and it's just really consistent, really comfortable. It's got a little bit of chalk bleed too, so it has nice grip, and you can really grab onto it well. And then my last A2 is the 750 A2. So Ryan Van, when I bought those, I'd been bugging him for months about flat A2s, and the 750 run came out as flat as I wanted them. So they're really great. I use this more for forehands than I do backhands. I might use it for like a short skip shot, but it's primarily a forehand disc, forehand approach where I'm okay with a little skip, or I need something I can really crank on a little bit harder than those 300 ones I had earlier. And the 750 plastic is just so durable. It's such a fun disc to throw because I can mash it and not be concerned if it hits a tree or a sidewalk or a building on some of those real tight shots. And then my last approach disc is this 750 A3. So same thing, really wanted a flatter run of an A3. The 750 has done that, and very happy with just the feel of it. It's got a very nice feel in the hand. I throw this forehand, backhand. It's a little bit straighter, holds up in the wind pretty well. It's basically a mid-range for me, and I really like using it as an overstable mid when I don't need as much glide as you know, some of the mid-ranges that I have from Prodigy. Speaking of mids, that's where we'll head next. So I have this Proto M1 that is just awesome looking. So I've got a couple of these that have been given to me, and really I beg this for the wind. If I need a mid-range and there's a headwind, I'm grabbing this disc. I don't really throw it in any other situations, but if in a stout headwind, which we have a lot of at our local course Majet, this thing flies like my kind of more stable M4 or an MX3 does. And so it's something where I can throw the same shot I normally would and know that it's gonna come back, it's gonna finish left. I'm gonna have a really good looking, you know, approach or upshot from it. So just a great disc. I keep trying to take it out of the bag, and I play a headwind round and suddenly it's gotta come back in. So that one stays in. I do have an MX3, first run MX3 in the 500 plastic. 500 plastic is my favorite plastic. It's incredible. I love the feel of it. I love the durability. I love the flight of it. Everything about the 500 plastic has been great, and this MX3 is no exception. So I've been using this for more of my, if there's not a lot of wind and I need something stable, or I just want something straight in the wind, this is the disc I grab. Any sort of tailwind shots that I'm throwing something where I want to kind of flip it up a bit and like have it finish a little harder, this is the disc. And so this disc has been in my bag since they came out, and I don't see it leaving. It's really filled the gap where I had M2s and M3s before. It's filled that space for me, and so I don't carry those anymore, and this is the go-to mid for anything that's more stable than my M4. Speaking of those M4s, I have two of them. So I have this 400G M4 with the Gibney bottom stamp. So Gibney runs the Fairhope Jubilee, one of my favorite tournaments. Actually, my first Prodigy discs were a PA4, an M4, and a D1, and I won those at the Fairhope Jubilee in 2018. And Gibney's just a good dude. Really wanted to support him. He was the guy that got me on the street team, and he did these run of discs to support some of his tour last year, and I was like, definitely, I want some. So I've got two of these M4s, and they're money run. They're a little understable, so I can get them up. I've been throwing them for a bit, and I can just get that real soft right look on them. And then this 500 plastic, it's for the Panhandle Open, which was supposed to be in May, but it's been delayed due to the COVID pandemic to August. But I got this from Ryan Van, and it's another thing I just want to support because that's a great tournament over in Milton. And this is a little more stable, so these kind of provide me the same straight flight with a different finish and allow me to kind of get exactly what I want when I'm throwing a mid-range and really just want to finish just a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left. If I want to go way to the right, one of my favorite discs, people think it's crazy, is a 400G M5. So I have a few of these, the double bead on the bottom, which creates like this recessed bead. It trips some people up, but I really love the feel of it. I throw this a lot in the woods. I know I can bring it over, I can turn it over and it's just gonna ride that Anheuser line. I can also power down on it and throw it and get like a real soft S-curve out of it where it's gonna like have a little bit more right and then just set down left. I use it a lot on anything where the basket's on a hill and I'm in the woods and I need to be able to just like flex it out because I know it's gonna sit down pretty soft. So this is just a longer PA4 for me. But it's just really a great disc. I also like to throw it on just a ton of hyzer and let it flip up to flat and ride on some of your shorter like 180, 200 foot shots. It's just a really fun disc to play around with because of how understable it is. Moving on to my fairways, I bag 3 traditional fairway drivers, I guess you could say. 2 of them are F5s. So I have this 400 Spectrum F5 that we did a run of for our Bay County Kickoff tournament. That was this January. And then I have this 750 plastic PD stamped one. This one is my straight to understable F5, and this one's a little more stable in the 750 plastic. And it's similar to my M4s, just with more flight and more glide. So if I need to reach for a fairway driver, I get that. This 750 PD, I can throw it on a hyzer and let it crash in a little bit harder. And if I throw it low, I can actually get a little bit of like just straight skip on it. So it's really become a dependable disc. The F5, M4s, F5s, and H3 V2s have kind of become the disc that if I don't know what to throw, I grab one and I can make the shot shape I really want out of them. So these both are great discs. I also have an F7. So the F7 is sort of just a fun disc for me. I rarely throw it in competitive play, but I like to just turn it up and let it ride on those big antes. It's also fun to throw a little nose up because it's gonna finish back left if you do, and just like absolutely pull on it, which is good for some of these like open field holes. There's one in Valdosta where there's a power pole in the middle, and my goal is always just to throw it and get it to flex around that power pole and just land on the other side for, it leaves you a really clean up shot. So I sometimes use it for placement shots like that, but for the most part it's in the bag just for those rare occasions where I need something that I know I can throw flat and get it out, and then it's gonna flip up toward the end and ride and then come back just softly. So that's why it's in 400G plastic. It's fairly crisp, it's not super beat in, so I know it'll flip up, but I also know that it's gonna lay down pretty flat and not get any sort of bad roll away. The non-traditional fairway driver I was talking about is this. It's an FX2, just really stable. Love throwing this thing forehand, letting it come back hard, throwing it in the wind. It's really just become a really consistent disc in a way that like an FD3 or a flat Firebird is for a lot of people. This is in 400G plastic. It's a first run, just a really great disc. I've got these in 400G and 500. I love them in both, and it's really just a great thing where I know I can pull it out and it's going to come back in and crash in pretty hard. You can throw it on skip. Just a really good sort of overstable utility disc. All right, moving on to the H series. We get this H1 V2 and 400 Spectrum plastic with a Jomez Pro stamp on it. Really love this disc. It flies similar to like a Sexton Firebird, if you're familiar with those. Can throw it on a forehand, really just mash it out, let it get a little bit of skip, but it's gonna go pretty straight. The stability on this thing's awesome. A lot of confidence in these discs. This is my third one I beat into to the point where I needed to get a third one in the bag. I mentioned that the H3 V2 is one of my favorite discs. This is my favorite run. It's the Chris Dickerson Robot Chicken, 750 gold plastic, consistent. I can reach for it and just absolutely mash it, and I know I'm gonna get a pretty straight flight out of it. It may get a little bit of turn and fade, but I can throw it where I want it to go and it's going to end up there. And then my last in the H series is the H4 V2. I actually had these made when I did the pub crawl, so it's got that Keep St. Andrew Salty stamp on it. This has become more of a utility disc for me. It's my favorite shot to throw with it is if I'm tucked up and I need to get an out shot. I can throw it on an ante forehand, and it's kind of like having a pitching wedge because it hits and just kind of falls back into place. I throw it a backhand occasionally to get sort of a longer flight out of it, but I generally am going to a D4 for something like that flight. But really great disc. I can't take it out of the bag. There's just too many times I need that utility sort of Anheuser flick shot that this disc gives me. So moving on to the drivers. So I carry two of the new D models. I've got a D Model S and a D Model OS. Still working these in. They're primarily flick discs for me. The D Model S, I'll flick on a bit of a hyzer, let it flip up to flat and just carry. The D Model OS, I'm throwing for a flick that's a little more of your traditional, like just mashing it and letting the overstability come back. Both of these are just great distance discs. I can throw them a long ways. Really love the feel of them. The DuraFlex plastic is great feeling. It's real durable. I've been throwing these for a while, and they've not, they're not really taking any beating on the rim. But really comfortable with these discs. I'm really loving this new Ace line disc, specifically these and the P Model S, and have found these to be great flick discs. Don't really throw those backhand. I stick with the traditional D series for that. So in the D series, I have a D1, just overstable, throw it for hyzers. It's very just throwing it out on a hyzer, letting it come back disc. I don't really throw it a lot for anything else. But the two discs I really go to are this D2 here. So I have a 400G D2. This disc is great. I can mash it. I can get it to flip up if I really pull on it hard. I can throw it forehand some. I've stopped. I throw the D Model S in that slot more. But just a really fun disc to throw and let fly. I don't throw it as much as I probably should, mainly because I love these two discs, but it's a great one. And then I have these two D4s. So one's in 400G plastic, in the older 400G, one's newer. One's max weight, this one is a 167. And these are just the discs that if I really just want a lot of flight out of a disc, I'm gonna throw them out on hyzer, I'm gonna let them flip, I'm gonna let them carry. These are really fun discs. Actually, if my forehand's really working, I'll drop this angle and I'll let it flip up to flat and carry out. And I've thrown this disc just over 400 feet on a flick before. And of course, that's perfect. All things, you know, a little bit of a tailwind. You've got everything going right, nose down. But the D4 has become my most consistent driver where I'm really just trying to pull and get a lot of distance. We're down to the end here. I carry an X2. So this is my overstable flick where I just want to bomb something out and really bring it back. I can throw this thing on any angle and it's coming back right. I love it for throwing just basically as hard as I can, as far as I can, and knowing that it's going to finish right. So if I've got a space to work with on the left and something tight on the right, this is generally the disc I'm coming to make sure I end up back on the right. I don't throw it as much as I used to. This used to be my primary flick disc, but I've really been working in these other two, which are X3s. So I have a Flight Factory X3 and a little bit of Color Glow 400 plastic, and then the Catrina Allen X3 and 500 plastic. So this disc is fairly new. I just replaced another one. The X3 beats in pretty well, and then just eventually need a new one so that I can get a little bit more angle control out of it, use it for thumbers, tomahawks. It's a disc that I can really throw just about anything with, which is why I carry two of them. But this 400 Glow is kind of more utility discs. And this Catrina Allen X3 is my bomber disc. It is the disc I can throw the furthest. I'm gonna throw it on a flick. I'm gonna drop the angle down, I'm gonna let it come up. I feel so comfortable with this one in the hand. This one specifically, this one has been returned to me 4 separate times in 4 different lakes where I've just, 3 of those actually threw it long. Didn't think I could throw that far and it just went. I've got a couple others, they don't fly exactly the same. They're, you know, every disc is a little bit different. This disc is absolutely perfect. And I really just hate the day when this thing has to come out of the bag. So sort of the last disc I want to walk through is the holy grail of Prodigy disc. It's a 750 X1. I've got about 3 or 4 of these things. I just love them. They're the most stable disc I've ever thrown. The 750 plastic is just incredibly durable. This is the Big Star Stamp one that they ran this year. Man, I love it. I can put it out on whatever angle I want. It's coming back. I use it for flicking, primarily for stuff where I need to be able to like crank something out left and crash it back in. I've gotten to the point where I'm throwing it for a little bit more consistently on the flicks, but really I'm going to those X2 and X3s for that. So this is just a disc, man. I love it. I love throwing it. I love the feel of it. It's one of my favorite discs. So really comfortable with it, really love throwing it, and really excited that I was able to get my hands on a few of them so that I could use them. I don't throw them around water because I'm afraid of losing them, but it's by far one of the discs that I just have to have in my bag to be able to throw. So that is my in the bag. As you can see, got some pretty cool stuff. Really love it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know if you liked it or disliked it, or if you have any questions about stuff. Thanks, guys.